the UFC just signed ONE Championship's former middleweight and light heavyweight champion, Reinier de Ridder. This guy is a solid grappler. He's a mostly grappling jiu-jitsu based fighter, but he has shown some ability on the feet. This is how he was so dominant in ONE Championship for a couple of years, just not but 2 years ago. This guy is a legit talent on the world stage. Now, he hasn't fought in the UFC. He recently competed outside of ONE Championship. He's trying to get back in the win column in terms of major MMA promotions, and going into the UFC might just be the way to do it. He's coming off of those 2 losses against Anatoly Malikin. Now, those 2 losses are not too good, and he also lost in a grappling match to Tai Ruotolo, the bigger of the 2 Ruotolo brothers. Now, this is very interesting. Many are speculating, why are they signing him now? He's in his mid-30s. He's coming off a couple of losses. He's not quite at the height that he used to be. Now, I think he's got a good chance to ascend up the rankings. He's going to be competing in middleweight, and I'll show you who he's going to be fighting in just a second. But the interesting fact about all this is that he is a dangerous grappler, and there's not a lot of grapplers at 185, so he could ascend up the rankings pretty quickly if he's able to implement his game plan perfectly against some finely tuned opponents, some well-picked opponents, maybe some cherry-picked opponents. I don't know what they want to do with this guy, but he's exciting, he's good on the mic, and he's fun to watch in terms of the jiu-jitsu for sure. An absolutely guns blazing kind of guy on the feet, gets it done. Not very technical striker, but he definitely can throw with the best of them when it comes to just a slang and bang type of fight. Like I said, not the most technical, but he's willing to get in a firefight if he needs to. As we showed in that Malikin fight, it just didn't work out. Malikin had the power, the speed, everything over Reinier de Ridder. De Ridder's not going to compete with the top 5 strikers at the UFC, but he could compete with some of the better grapplers, and he could ascend up through the rankings by beating some strikers because of his grappling prowess. Now, why would the UFC sign him? It's very possible also that de Ridder wants to make a name for himself. Like I said, ascend up the rankings. He could do it with his abilities, but I believe the UFC might also be just cherry picking this guy to showcase that, yes, this guy was dominant in ONE Championship. Yes, this guy ran over some of the best champions that ONE has ever had. But look, he can't compete with the best of us. He can't compete with the UFC. I feel like what they might be doing is signing this guy from ONE Championship to prove a point that ONE Championship is not on the level of the UFC. That's entirely possible in my mind, and I predict that may be why they're doing it. Now, de Ridder's opponent will be Gerald Meerschaert himself, the Chad Meerschaert himself. They'll be fighting at UFC Vegas 100 on November 9th in the Apex. Okay, fine. Gerald Meerschaert, top talent, guys, the top 15 gatekeeper, and de Ridder's trying to break into it. Both grappling heavy finishers. Absolutely fun fight. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be a fun one. Just an interesting choice that they're making it at the Apex, which tells me they want de Ridder to showcase before he moves on to a fight night or a pay-per-view status kind of fight, before they try to embarrass him against somebody in the top 10, top 5. That's what my kind of prediction is, but I wish him well. I hope that he can ascend up the rankings. Maybe he'll get a win over Gerald Meerschaert, but Gerald Meerschaert is nobody to sneeze at. If you don't have your P's and Q's in the line, you're not going to beat the guy. He's legit. He's dangerous when it comes to finishing. He's got the most finishes at middleweight in the history of the UFC. De Ridder trying to make a name for himself, fighting a challenging opponent. Let me know what you guys think about Reinier de Ridder previously up to this point. Have you ever heard of him? Do you know where he comes from? Do you know what he's done in ONE? Are you excited to see him in the UFC finally? Or are you just waiting to see what he'll do next? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.